Right now, Valorant is sweeping gaming news, trending on Twitter, and just gathered over 1 million concurrent viewers on Twitch and Mixer. It feels like the game is taking headlines by storm, and seemingly out of nowhere. But how on earth did we get here? My name is Spin, and this is the story of Valorant. The story of Valorant begins with one man, Joe Ziegler. He's an employee at Riot Games and considered to be employee number 1 on Valorant. Valorant's inception began as a conversation between him and other designers, theorizing on what other kinds of games Riot could make. They landed on a 5 vs 5 competitive FPS. He thought about Riot's strength in developing and servicing League of Legends and thought, what if we took a model like that and we thought about how we could take these games that normally have really closed legacy loops, like Counter-Strike, and turn it into a service? But without the right team, you can't build the world's next breakout FPS hit. From the beginning, game balance would be critical. So Riot swapped out Trevor Rumleski, veteran League of Legends developer, to the Valorant team. He had already worked on game balance for League of Legends, but he describes himself as genre agnostic, and he was ready to take on a new challenge. Strong map making would be vital. A tactical shooter will live and die by the quality of its map design. That's why Riot brought on Sal Garozzo, aka Volcano. He's the creator of CSGO's infamous DE cache and a former CSGO pro. So when Riot reached out, Volcano was confused. Out of curiosity, Volcano took an interview with Riot, and he was intrigued when he found out that Riot was making a tactical shooter. He said to Polygon, I interviewed and I actually got to play the game, and I was just convinced. I could see the potential and I wanted to be a part of it. Also vital is networking. Riot switched League of Legends veteran engineer Dave Hieronymus to the Valorant team. He actually helped develop a technology called Riot Direct. It's a service that actually optimizes player connections to the game server. Basically, what it does is it directly routes your connections to the game server instead of your connection just bouncing around the internet till it finds the server itself. So Dave was actually brought on to implement Riot Direct into Valorant. And they led with this initial promise, that the majority of players in major cities would be able to play with a ping of less than 35 milliseconds. Last but certainly not least is anti-cheat. Cheaters can be a plague to shooters. Cheaters can be a plague to any game, and they can cause players to leave in droves. So when Riot asked League of Legends veteran senior engineer Paul Chamberlain, aka Arkham, to build anti-cheat for Valorant, he responded, yeah, a challenge, sign me up. Then I realized that it was 10 or 12 people and that I was the 4th programmer. Seems like Riot pulled a switcheroo on him. Okay, I got bamboozled. But it turned out that's really helpful. We could start planning security features and look into what problems we have to solve right at the start of developing the game. Paul actually built this really cool system called the Fog of War. Basically, the server withholds enemy locations until just before you see them. So even if your wallhack is reading the game client's memory, it won't do very much because the enemy location won't be there. Other games do something like this, but nowhere near to this extent. Walls, player abilities, objects, field of view, they'll all prevent the server from sending information on enemy whereabouts. Obviously, this isn't foolproof, but this is the kind of stuff that developers need to be building to disincentivize cheaters. A notable mention is that legendary artist Moby Franck is art director on Valorant. Moby is most well known for his stunning artwork on Valve's Team Fortress 2. And it's easy to see his signature art style shows in Valorant visuals. You've got those slightly muted environments and those unique and stylized characters that are super easy to identify from far away but still look stunning. Eventually, Valorant's team grew to over 100 developers of artists, programmers, engineers, etc.
Over here, we've got over 100 developers working on...
Over 100 developers, man! They got over 100 developers! We got two.
On October 2019, Project A was announced at the League of Legends 10-year anniversary. The footage was promising, but ultimately lacking information. We really only knew that they were working on a high consequence FPS, but that's about it. Reactions from streamers was also mixed too.
I don't know. I mean, I just know it's gonna be good. It's gonna be quality, right? But is it unique enough, different enough to really like just make an impact? I don't know.
Ultimately, Riot left with this.
We're going heads down for a while, but expect to hear more from us in 2020.
5 months later, Riot dropped a full round's worth of gameplay footage. This offered clarity on what we're going to be expecting from Valorant. We found out that yes, the gunplay is really CS oriented, and that character abilities function more as utility that you'd have in a game like Counter-Strike. There's in-game comms, and that the game revolves around a diffuse type game mode. There's a CS-like arsenal of weapons, buy menu, and you even move faster with a knife. All in all, it looks like about 90% Counter-Strike with a dash of Overwatch. In early March, Riot was supposed to fly out a host of streamers and influencers to play and record the Valorant Alpha, but due to the COVID-19 outbreak, they weren't able to, so Riot had to reevaluate. Throughout March, Riot began teasing individual characters like Sage, Viper, and Sova, which gave everyone a good idea of what we're going to be expecting from the different characters and their abilities. In the end of March, Riot hosted an online playtest for streamers in response to the COVID-19 quarantine orders by local governments. And on April 3rd, Riot lifted the NDA for playtesters, which opened the floodgates to hundreds and hundreds of hours of pre-recorded footage from the online playtest. The initial response was overwhelmingly positive. There was near unilateral praise among streamers and creators.
I can't say anything in detail, but I can tell you it's one of the greatest games I've played in a very, very, very long time.
I genuinely think this may be the next big thing. Genuinely.
Which actually created suspicion on some pockets of the internet. The suspicion grew from massive Twitch statistics and hype developing around the game. Players started questioning if creators and streamers were being paid off by Riot to positively hype the game. And creators came out and just stated, listen, we're not being paid here. But despite this, some have remained skeptical. In the USA, the FTC has mandated that if influencers take money in exchange for advertising a game, that they have to disclose it in an obvious manner. This is usually done with the FTC approved keywords #ad or #sponsored. And if this isn't complied with, a YouTuber or streamer could have their channel deleted or suspended. This begs the question, would an influencer throw away their entire career over one quick payday? The answer is probably not. The Valorant closed beta is upon us. If you're watching this video, it's probably already out, the reviews are probably already in, and players have probably already made up their own mind. Success for Valorant will depend on Riot's level of support for the game, and they've already set a precedent here with one of the most popular games and esports in the world, League of Legends. It's been a crazy ride up until this point, but in the end, players will have to play the game for themselves to decide what they think.
You're not a big fan of Valorant?
I mean, I think it's more for casual players.
And most importantly, it was fun to play.
We've had the trashiest FPS experiences the past couple years. We have the most garbage gameplay, and a game comes out and people complain about the graphics. Holy shit.
Not playing Counter-Strike today. Hey, sorry boys, but hey, okay, I'll wait for Valorant.
Whew. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm Spin. I'm actually kind of new to making videos on YouTube, but hey, if you liked what you just saw, please go ahead and like and subscribe. I'm gonna stop talking now. Peace and love, everybody.